Okay, so in the previous video, we have built a very simple agent and we were able to interact with it and we were able to visualize the output also. Now let's try to understand what is memory in AI agents in much more depth. In chat completion, you know that we use something called as messages, which is going to be a list. And inside of this list, you will pass role system. Content is something like you are a smart assistant, etc., etc. And next you will have role user. Content is a question. Hi, hello, how are you? Can you help me with writing a blog, etc., etc. And for that question, whatever response that you're going to get back will be for role assistant. This is the response that we will get. After this, again, it's going to be next communication where the role will be user. Next role will be assistant again. And after that also, role will be user and role will be assistant. No changes in this one. So the roles after the system, everything after system should alternate between user and assistant. There's no exception for this. If you have something in between, it will throw you an error message. It will not even accept. But when you're working with agents, you will have few other things in between them, which are function calling and function output. So in the question, if I'm asking, can you use this particular tool and do the job for me? My agent will call that tool and whatever output that it receives from that tool will be stored in the function output. Now, what I have to do is I need to append both of them here. So which means after the role of user, I need to specify this function was called and whatever output that function has given me, I need to add one more item in this list saying that this was the output of that function calling. But the problem here is when an agent decides to call a tool, if it is not satisfied with the output, it can call the tool again. It can call it n number of times. That depends upon what you're giving in the instructions. If I tell it, if a particular tool is not working, try 4 or 5 times. It will try 4 times, it might try 3 times, it might try 6 times, it might try 5 times. We don't know. So how exactly can I capture this information? That is going to be a very important part. To capture that information, we make use of this input list. So if you see the result.to input list, it captured whatever question I've asked along with the answer that I received. There are no system instructions here, but if it had a system instruction, then it would have captured the system instructions as well. But it captured each and everything, whatever conversations have been happening so far. Let's try to use the same conversation and prolong it furthermore without forgetting the previous questions. What I'll do is I'll simply create a blank list called as messages. In the previous video, in the previous playlist, in the chat completion part, I've already explained what are these messages and what are these role user, role assistant, etc., etc. If you did not understand this part, then please do go back, watch those videos, and only then you can come back and watch the remaining part because this is going to be very, very crucial. So if you don't understand what is messages, what is role user, role content, role user, role assistant, role system, then this will be very confusing for you. Okay, so I've created a very blank list called as messages. Now, what I'll do is I'll create a simple dictionary here called input messages, which will take role as user and content is this one. Let's say the question is, hey, hi. Okay, very simple. Now I'll combine both of them and I'll send it to my runner. The same custom agent. I'll clear everything. Okay. The same custom agent. And instead of sending the string as an input, I'm storing everything in a messages list and I'm sending it. And let's store the result in result. Next, we are getting the result.toInput list, the whole messages, updated one. I'll overwrite my empty messages with this one. Let's see the output. Okay, so right now my messages has my question and my answer as well. Let me try to use the same code again. I'll take the whole thing. I'll put it here and I'll ask some new question like what is an earthquake? So if you see here, my previous conversations are still present. This is my second question for which I got an answer. An earthquake is a shaking of earth surface, etc., etc. If I want to see only that answer, I can say result dot final output. We'll give it like this. Let's try to visualize it properly. Okay, it gave me nice content about what is an earthquake, explaining everything in detail. But this is what we are looking for. The messages list has to be constructed very, very carefully. So if you observe both of these cells, yeah, this cell and this cell, let me isolate them. What is the difference that you notice here? It's very simple. In the first cell, we are creating a empty list, but in the second cell onwards, instead of creating a new one again, we are reusing the same thing. So let's try to put both of these into a single function. This is my list, and I have ask agent, which will take a question. I'm taking the global variable messages. I'm creating the input message just like how I previously did, but instead of hard coding it, I'll take it as a parameter. Then the result will be generated. I'm overwriting my messages and I'm displaying the output. Okay, let's run this function. Now let's call it. Again, the reason why I'm using async is because I'm using await for runner. Okay, I got the output. Hello, how can I help you today? Messages list is also updated in the backend. Let's try to see how it looks like. You can see clearly role is user, content is hi, and here role is assistant and content is this part, the text part, which is what we need. Okay, it's well and good. I'll delete this. Now let's ask a follow-up question again. What is an earthquake? Okay, it gave me this nice response. Let's try to visualize the output once again. Sorry, not the output, the messages list. My previous question is still here. Role is user, content is hi. Sorry, role is user, content is hi, and role is assistant. And the content is, hi, how can I help you today? What is an earthquake? And the content for it. An earthquake is a shaking of surface, etc., etc. Let's clear everything. I'll ask one more follow-up question. Can you write a poem on it? I'm not specifying that I want the poem on earthquake, but because there is a conversation recorded, it will be able to understand what discussions went on previously, and then it will be able to answer it directly. If I run this, of course, here's a poem about earthquake. Even though I didn't mention it anywhere in the question, it knows that I'm talking about earthquake because of the previous conversations. And it gave me a really nice poem as well. Let's try to print the messages once again. You can see everything is still present. Don't worry about what is this ID and what is this annotations, what is this type output text. These are all different things that you're getting directly from the agent library. We don't have to worry about it. As long as as long as we're able to capture everything in one place, that is more than enough for us. What is an earthquake? It gave me an explanation. Can you write a poem on it? Of course. And here's a poem. So we have created a memory where it can remember what previous conversations have happened. This is going to be very important when you have a conversational AI. Now, this messages list is completely up to date with all of the conversations. I can put it in a JSON format. I can store it in a SQL database. I can store it in Elasticsearch. I can store it in MongoDB. I can store it in JSON files. I can store it wherever I want. In the future, I can take that same list again. I can continue the conversation from there. So in this way, I can always preserve the memory part. In the chat completion playlist, I've explained some of the limitations that you will have to face and some of the tricks that you can use to overcome those limitations where you have token context length, so you cannot exceed the number of tokens that the model can handle. So go ahead and watch those videos if you haven't watched already. But this, in a nutshell, is how we can manage memories in AI agents. Next, let's start building tools for our agents. See you in the next one. Thank you.